I'll go to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Dr. Joyce, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Duncan and Ranking Member DeGette, for allowing me to wave on today. And thank you for the commissioners for appearing. Mr. Chairman, first I would ask unanimous consent to submit for the record former Chairman Barton's affidavit on the RTO adder for utilities. Thank you. The electric industry is going through a significant transition as intermittent resources are being added to the grid. It is critical to continue transmission investment and investor-owned utilities that are and will continue to play a large part in this effort. FERC is considering certain policy changes that would sunset the RTO adder for utilities. I'm concerned that this action will add uncertainty to the market and would harm the ability for these companies to invest in improving the grid. Mr. Chairman, I would also ask unanimous consent to submit for the record a paper by Michael Kormos, the former COO of PJM Utilities.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. As data centers and AI expand across America and in my home state of Pennsylvania, they are providing economic growth and family-sustaining jobs. They also use, as we all know, large amounts of energy, adding significant demand to the grid for the first time in decades. This is all happening at a time when supply to the grid of baseload power is being threatened by draconian rules propagated by President Biden's EPA. Closing coal power plants and restricting new natural gas power plants will stifle the capacity of the grid. Given this environment, we need to look at ways to ease the strain on the grid. One potential solution, as detailed in Mr. Kormos's paper, could be using a co-located behind-the-meter configuration with nuclear generators. Chair Phillips, the race with China and Russia for AI supremacy is simply one that we in the United States cannot afford to lose. What is FERC doing to ensure that the U.S. can facilitate this load growth either by tapping into the power grid or co-locating at plant sites?
We have a pending matter, Congressman, and I wish I could answer your question. We can't talk about, when you talk about the issue of co-location, as a general matter, this is something that we're going to have to deal with, for sure. What we're doing, though, to address the need regarding data centers, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, all these issues, the best thing that we can do is plan for it in the long term.
Does that include co-locating and tapping into additional power sources, such as nuclear power?
Again, I really cannot get into the details when it comes to that particular issue, which is pending before us. We may get challenged and say that we're prejudging the issue and won't be able to actually sit for that particular proceeding. So I can't go any further than the general matter that I talked about.
Moving on then, in September of 2023, this committee heard from representatives of the nation's major grid operators, including PJM, which manages the grid in Pennsylvania. PJM warned about an expected shortfall in power generation by the end of the decade, due largely to what they classify as policy-driven retirements of reliable fossil fuel plants. In response to one of my questions, all the grid operators agreed that continuing to use fossil fuel plants, especially natural gas, is crucial for maintaining grid reliability. The head of New England ISO described it as, quote, the only practical solution. Since then, the outlook has only worsened with the EPA's introduction of the problematic Clean Power Plan 2.0. Mr. Christie, given these concerns from PJM and other grid operators, what actions can FERC take now within its current authority to address this resource adequacy issue? And further, what additional powers or authorities would you like to see Congress grant to better address the anticipated shortage of dispatchable generation in PJM and in other regions?
PJM is losing dispatchable. As you mentioned, we've talked about this a lot today. PJM is losing dispatchable resources at a rate that's simply not sustainable, and they're not going to be able to keep the lights on if they continue to lose them, and it's primarily coal and gas that they're losing. FERC's role in reliability, first and foremost, we're the regulator of NERC, which sets reliability standards, and that includes effectively raising the alarm on resource adequacy shortfalls as part of the reliability assessments that NERC does and that we do. So one big role we have is what we've done today, which is to raise the alarm about what's going on. We don't have the authority to order the construction of a single generating unit in America because it's the states that do that. And of course, in Pennsylvania, where you're from, Pennsylvania is in the PJM market, and you've given up the IRP process. So basically what gets built in Pennsylvania is only going to get built if the investors build generating units based on whether they think they can get enough revenue from the PJM markets, energy, and especially capacity. FERC regulates the capacity market, and this has been an ongoing source of concern about whether that PJM capacity market is procuring sufficient capacity resources and the right type of capacity resources with the attributes. And that's going to be an ongoing issue. That is under FERC's purview to look and see whether that capacity market is in fact working to get the resources they need.
Mr. Chairman, my time has expired. I do have additional question on FERC's order number 1920, which I will submit for QFRs. I thank again the commissioners for attending, and I thank you for allowing me to wave on today.
Yes, sir. Gentleman yields back.